Hey everyone, it's been a super productive few weeks working on Lumbermill. I've completely overhauled the game's hiring and personality systems, been experimenting with a new art style, and made some other improvements to staff behaviour. For those new here, Lumbermill is a factory builder and management game I'm building solo. So I started off with an easy but useful addition. Sometimes it can be hard to tell what an employee is doing or where they're going without waiting and watching them for a while. As there are quite a lot of tasks and that number is sure to grow, I decided to add short descriptions for all of the possible tasks. I've built these into the staff behaviour trees and they show up on employee control panels whenever you select an employee. You can also see them on the main staff list, so it's easy to quickly know what all of your staff are up to. Next up, a few of you have very fairly pointed out that conveyor belts don't move. I actually disabled the animations before my long break from development, because there are a surprising number of different ways the belts can get out of sync. At first, items weren't moving at the same speed as the belts. That led to a discovery that a recent rewrite of some item logic had made items move at double speed. Fixing that killed two birds with one stone, and items now move at the same rate as conveyors. The animation looks a bit jerky here because the belts move a pixel at a time, whereas items move smoothly. I'd like to make items also move in pixel steps at some point, but I'm just glad conveyors are animated again, as it makes a huge difference to the game's feel. The factory systems, such as conveyor belts, rely a lot on vector math, which is one of over 70 courses you can do with this video's sponsor, Brilliant. Having confidence in using math to solve problems is a vital part of game and software development, and Brilliant offers a way to learn through doing, with interactive lessons that often feel like games themselves. The computer science, data, and programming courses are created by industry experts and cover topics ranging from the basics in Python through to cutting-edge AI such as neural networks and LLMs. Lessons take minutes to complete and can even be done on your phone, so it's easy to make it a habit and learn something every day. To try out Brilliant free for 30 days, visit brilliant.org/BWDev or click the link in the description and you'll also get 20% off an annual premium subscription. Now, hiring staff has always been a simple but important part of Lumbermill. Very early on there was a pretty gross looking list, and not long after that I designed the current iteration, a series of headshots with some key details about the potential employees. You'd just click the hire button and the employee would appear in the forest. You could spam click this temporary button at the bottom of the screen to endlessly generate new employees, and over time I've found that this is pretty boring game design, as there's barely any decision making involved and there's no risk or real reward for the player. Hiring is handled quite differently between management games. Planet Coaster takes all decision making completely out of the equation, just one click to hire any employee from this window. Theme Hospital, a classic isometric management game from the 90s, gives staff specific skills and personality details. And Football Manager takes it all the way to the other extreme with full negotiation of every part of a contract. For Lumbermill, my aim is to make the process feel like a real interaction and offer the player some risks to get the best outcome, but not going full Football Manager. So firstly, the player decides what type of recruitment campaign to run. This is the first of 4 simple stages in the hiring process and presents the player with their first decisions, what employee types to focus on, and how much money to invest. As this part of the interface doesn't use up all the space in the Lumbermill window, I created a scrolling tiled background to keep things from looking too empty. Each of the 3 campaign types has its own icon, which I'm designing here. A notice board campaign is cheap, results in very few generally low quality applicants. A newspaper campaign is more expensive but will produce more, better applicants, and for rich players, they have the option of a radio campaign. This will result in the best possible applicants and a huge selection. An expensive campaign can be a great investment, but a cheap campaign will get the job done. I went through a few iterations of these icons and I didn't love the first attempt. The notice board and newspaper look too similar and sound exiting a microphone doesn't make any sense, so back to the literal drawing board. I thought isometric would look better and match the rest of the game, so I went with that while keeping the thick lines from before. I was a lot happier with those, and with them all set up, the interface looked like this. Almost there, but I thought it would be best to be able to select more than one employee type per campaign. Unity doesn't have a multi-select dropdown, so I ended up making my own. Okay, Happy with how that's working? You can select your job types and a campaign. So next, the campaign needs some time to run to allow applicants to come in. It takes a week in-game, and the player can choose to end it early. The trade-off here is that applicants will be revealed immediately, but there will be fewer of them, and there's no refund for the remaining campaign time. The number of applicants always falls within a certain range for each campaign type, which I'm setting up here. As time passes, the progress bar fills and the number of applicants gradually increases. Next up is the list of applicants. This is a table displaying key details, including the job, name, personality, and expected pay. Some of you will notice that this is essentially the old hiring screen, just without the portraits and displaying different information. Although they're quite fun, I decided to remove the portraits from here for a few reasons, mostly to make objectively comparing the different applicants easier. I've got other plans for the portraits, which you'll see shortly. I've also replaced the old personality system with 3 stats which more clearly affect how an employee behaves. Work ethic affects how quickly an employee's needs, such as energy, recover and deplete. Outlook affects each employee's overall happiness and has a cumulative effect between all staff, and ability affects how well an employee can do their job. For lumberjacks, that's how often they make mistakes and how quickly they can fell trees. I also added a notification to tell the player when their recruitment campaign is complete if they've got the Lumbermill window closed. Alongside all of this, I've actually packed up and moved from the south of England all the way up to St Andrews on the windswept east coast of Scotland. I'm studying a computer science master's degree, focusing on user experience, and I'm hoping a lot of what I learn over the next year will help me to make better games. It's a beautiful place to live, and I'll be making the most of all the awesome nature in this part of the world, so expect to see more of this in future devlogs. Anyway, back to hiring. The game needs to generate worse applicants for a notice board campaign and better applicants for a radio campaign. To do that, I can map a random number onto a curve that describes the distribution of personalities. So for a notice board campaign, this curve shifts the majority of random values to the lower end. Newspaper campaigns are mapped to a straight line, and radio campaigns are mapped to prioritise the high end. This means that you can still get extreme personality stats for any of these campaign types, but the likelihood varies. The player doesn't need to know about any of that detail though, and this is what they'll see, with coloured bars indicating each applicant's individual personality stats. I wasn't sure if it was a bit of an information overload, so I also tested it with only a single bar highlighted for each of the different stats, but ultimately went back to the original design. I also made it possible to sort the entire table by any of the columns, either ascending or descending, by clicking once or twice. Each of the staff types needed an icon of a certain size, so I drew a new set of 3 icons to go with the larger ones already in the game. An axe for lumberjacks, a spanner for mechanics, and a tree for arborists. I'm happy with those, so I moved on to the 4th and final part of the interface, offers. The idea here is once you've decided which applicant to hire, you can either hire them at the expected pay or try and negotiate a better deal. You'll see a portrait of the applicant, and they'll also tell you what pay they're expecting. I created a speech bubble design in Sprite and set it up in Unity so that it can scale to any size if needed without messing up the pixel art. I also created a really simple dithered background to separate the offer window from the list of applicants. There are over 30 different messages you might see when making an offer, and they're based on the employee's personality. Really highly skilled lumberjacks will say different things to really miserable arborists, for example. So, putting everything together, this is how hiring now works in Lumbermill. First, you choose your staff types and a campaign. Next, you either wait for the campaign to finish or end it early. You'll then see your applicants, and these will stay until they've either rejected your offer or you start a new campaign. Prioritizing any of the different personality stats will give you different behaviours, and better applicants will expect higher pay. Selecting an applicant, you'll see what they look like, and they'll tell you how much pay they expect. They'll always accept their expected pay, and lowering the offer, you take a risk on whether or not they'll accept. Send them an offer and they'll think it through before either accepting or declining. I still need to get the headshot display working, but that's for a later devlog. This has felt so much more fun to use than the old system. The process of making an offer feels like a real interaction, and the small risks can often feel worth taking for a better outcome. There was a bug where there were no typically female names being generated, so I also fixed that and added a load of new names, bringing the total to over 5,000 unique combinations, with different sets of names for each job type. Next up, those who saw the last devlog might remember this bug where staff would sometimes choose some pretty indirect routes to where they're going. I ended up totally rewriting the pathfinding, so now it's much more efficient, takes the shortest route, and prioritizes paths built by the player. I also added a speed buff to paths, so staff move along them faster than on grass. It's turned up way too high here just to show it more clearly. Moving forward with the game, I want to work with a consistent colour palette and art style. The palette I currently use is a bit of a jumble of all of the different sprites I've drawn over time, and along with that, my drawing ability has also improved. I started this project as a near beginner in pixel art. A consistent palette will allow me to more clearly define the art style for all of the various textures and materials in the game. That minimises a lot of the small art decisions I have to make, which sometimes get in the way of me just sitting down and drawing. To do this, I thought I'd start with getting the balance right between spruce trees and grass, a surprisingly tricky challenge without thick pixel art outlines which don't suit Lumbermill. The original grass tile has remained the same since day one of the project, and I decided to draw a load of variations this time to break up the sea of green. I'm personally really happy with this new design, especially comparing it alongside the old. It's got a kind of nostalgic feel that I really think suits the game, and just generally feels more like a forest than it did before. There's obviously still quite a bit of work to be done to bring everything up to date, and I'm keen to hear your feedback, so make sure to subscribe and let me know your thoughts in the comments. The best way to support the channel is on Patreon or Ko-fi, and Lumbermill is available for wishlisting on Steam. Links are in the description. Special thanks for this video go to my top patrons, Pepsi, SOF and Matthias Bader. That's all for this video, thanks for watching.